Hey everyone, we're here. Two brand spanking new Xray XB8 21. So we have a nitro on the left side on the screen, and the right side we have an e-buggy. So we're gonna do an unboxing video of both of them, but let's start off with the e-buggy. So if you like this unboxing video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell to get notifications so you don't miss when we unbox the nitro kit. So let's go. So brand new Xb8 21E. So if anyone's ever unboxed an Xray kit, it is a thing of absolute beauty. You ready? Ready for this? Bum-ba-da-bum! So just like every other Xray kit, you get the certificate of authenticity. You get the famous Xray manual, and you get a set of decals, you get a set of window masks, and you also get the parts list with full exploded view separate from the manual, which is really easy and nice to take to the track or if you're ordering parts. So first things first, we grab the brand spanking new Xb8e Chassis. So on previous Xray kits, the chassis for the nitro and the electric were actually the same. This year they've went away from that design, and now we have the option of this chassis to do saddle packs, so you can run two 2-cell batteries in series, or you can run one battery in the back and motor on the other side. Other differences are that the chassis are keyed into the chassis there for the steering posts, but everything else is the same color, hard anodized, all of that. So next thing up, we got the Xray shocks, which you get a front and a rear. So inside, if you're the nice part with Xray, they do give you Delrin pistons, Delrin guides, which in most shocks are actually an upgrade. You also get the very nice dust boots that are accordion style, and they're nice and soft, and usually we don't have very many issues with these tearing or ripping, which is really, really nice. Like I said, you get front and rear. Next thing up, we have what looks to be the saddle pack option for the battery plates. So obviously there's two nice carbon fiber steering servo mount and the hardware for that. With all the Xray parts, you've probably been noticing a trend, but they give you who packaged the bag, and they also have this little wood wafer, essentially like moisture wicking strip in every part that has metal in it, which is really, really handy. Next thing up, looks like we have some extra battery posts, I presume. Wheel hexes, plastic servo horn in 23, 24, 25, which we will not use. I highly recommend anybody building a kit go to the aluminum servo horn option. And then the same thing, we got all hardware for that. So the other new thing on the XB8, since it's right here on the top of the bag, on the 21E and the 21 Nitro, this top plate here actually has two holes in it. So before, the issue that they had was the chassis brace from the front down to the chassis was actually too close to the drive shaft and people were having interference issues. Now this fixes that all the way up and you don't have to fear. You also get the aluminum servo saver bell crank side, aluminum Ackerman plate, all the standard stuff that you normally get, aluminum front shock tower, all the pills, all of the goodness with that. Next thing up, we got front and rear diff. Another cool thing that Xray does with all of their diffs is this gasket material. It isn't a standard like paper style gasket material. It's actually rubber based, and they tend to last twice as long, and they don't tend to leak as bad, which is really, really nice. And then everything else for the diff is in here. So this is just, like I said, front and rear, and super nice O-rings. Xray uses a different quality material and a different style material in all their O-rings. They don't seem to swell and expand like some other ones. I mean, we still do recommend using their white grease as well as some O-ring grease, just to make sure that no diff oil does penetrate it and swell it so you have any leakages. So this is our center diff here. The nice part with the Xray center diff, even on their electric car, is the spur gear is steel. Some other kits do have plastic spur gears included, and then you have to buy that center diff spur gear separate in steel, which is usually a quite expensive touch. I mean, here in Canada, it can be anywhere from $40 to $70, depending on the spur gear you need. But Xray does include that for free. The Diff Cup is also a little bit different. So if you look at the size of it, the center Diff Cup is actually quite a bit larger, but not quite as deep as what the front and rear diff cups are. So something to keep an eye out when you're building your kit. The other thing that I'm not 100% sold on some of these kits, Team Associated also does this, but they put all their bearings in a separate tube just so they don't have any issues with washers or spacers or anything getting stuck to them, which I totally get. It would just be nice to have that inside the actual, you know, places where you need them in those bags. But the other cool thing with Xray that a lot of people don't tell you is their pinion bearings. You can see there's really only 3 sizes of bearings in here. So it's the 8x16s, 13x19s, and I want to say these are 6x11s or 6x10s. So don't quote me on the small ones. We don't use them very often. But you can see there's no 5x10s, 511s, or 5x13s, which are your standard pinion bearings, front and rear, that hold the pinion inside the gearbox. Xray actually uses 8x16s. Not enough people know that, and I know if you run a Techno, say ET or NT 48.3, you know the struggle on keeping those 5x13s in those rear diff housings. So that completely solves that issue. Bag of springs, nothing really all that spectacular there. Xray also does include an extra hardware bag. So you do get some wheel, some nuts, some extra grub screws, just little odds and ends that you may lose at the track, just so you have some extra hardware. The other new thing on all the Xray 21 XB8s is the new Easy body. So the biggest difference between this body and last year's body is the one centralized rib, smack dab right down the middle. Before, the 2 ribs were actually down the sides of the roof instead of the middle. So a little bit better aerodynamics, a little bit more swooping down the sides to try and keep the buggy down, and a bigger wicker bill on the back to keep air on that spoiler. The nice thing as well is this body is a nitro or electric body, so you can use it on either or of the kits. You get just 2 side guards here. They're separate. Pre-drilled wing, which is quite nice, and it's black. A lot of people are putting white wings and stuff now, which get really, really dirty, especially if you are in a nitro. Huddy premium oils are going to be shipped in this kit. So it looks like we get 7,000 weight diff oil and 3,000 weight diff oil. Get a tube of graphite grease, which if you've never used the Huddy graphite grease, I would highly recommend it. It is probably the best graphite grease I've used personally. And then we get 2 big tubes of shock oil. Next up, we get the aluminum center diff mount and the quick change bracketry on here. So it is a 2-piece mount, so you can do quick diff changes. The electric kit also comes with the carbon fiber center diff top plate as well, which this is an option on the nitro kit. It's an XT8 carbon fiber one, and it is kind of recommended. It does make it look a little bit nicer and a little bit less issues with any interference on that spur gear. So next up is your standard 4S style battery tray, which has your ESC plate on the back side there. You do get another carbon fiber bracket in there as well. You can kind of barely see it buried in there. You get 2 Velcro straps, a really nice thick dense piece of foam, and you also get your hardware for that step, as well as some extra wheelbase spacers and a black antenna tube. So now we're going to get into the front suspension components here. So Xray didn't change, honestly, a whole heck of a lot inside the suspension itself on the new XB821s. A-arms do stay the same, inner hinge pins, pivots, all of that stays the same. You still get your square eccentric hinge pins as well, upper and lower, which is really, really handy. So next up, we have the bulkheads and what looks to be the rear shock tower and center front, center rear drive shafts. So Xray still does use the universal drive shafts, but the nice part is you can see these boots are here, and those keep the universal nice and greased up, as well as from what we've experienced, even on a little bit of an angle, they don't fall off, which is a big one. I know the low-C ones fall off, but these ones also don't tear and do keep a lot of the grease and stuff inside of it, but a lot of the dirt out, which is a huge one if you are going to run CVD style center drive shafts. There also is some diff shims in here and some other odds and ends, so nothing really all that crazy. This year still does use the same bulkheads as the year previous, so nothing's changed for quick access or anything like that. Next up, we have what looks to be more rear end stuff. So we have our rear CVDs, which you can see are Huddy spring steel just by the color. We have 1-piece wing mount, which is pretty much standard. Our rear hub carriers, and the cool part with the Xray hub carriers, if I can get them all sorted out here, is on the bottom side, you can see that there is 2 heights for roll center, as well as 2 widths, so you can actually change your wheelbase on the hub versus buying some other components. You can still also change the wheelbase on the inner hinge pin point as well, but just a little bit more tunability to get the car to drive the exact way you would like it. Xray does offer 2 different width hexes on the 20. I don't remember if they do offer 2 different width hexes on this kit, if it's a 2 and a 1 or a 2 and a 2. I do have to look back on that. And then we're getting down to the last little bit here. So this is now the front suspension arm bag. So in here we have 2 chassis braces. We have our 2 pillow balls. The cool thing with Xray is you can see there's 2 different color pillow balls in here. There's a silver one, which is your standard steel, and there is the black one, which is your aluminum one. So they use the aluminum on the top, steel on the bottom. It is an upgrade. If you would like, you can actually buy another pair of aluminum ones, which will make the front end of the car a little bit more agile, as you don't have as much weight that you have to move up and down, so sprung weight. And yeah, everything else is pretty much the same as last year's model as well.
Is it all exactly the same?
Is it all exactly the same?
In the front end?
Yeah, it is, because I looked and these are not graphite. I lied to you. That's why I ordered them, so they're composite still. And then the last bag, we have rear control arms, sway bars, and the rest of the kit. So not really anything drastic in the suspension components. The biggest thing, again, that's changed is going to be the body. Out with the old, which is the 4S style tray, and in with the new, which is dual shorty pack. So recently here, Paul Ciccarello won the Dirt Nitro Challenge in its eBuggy 40 Plus with this setup. Tessman and Paul Ciccarello were both at PNB this past weekend. Paul did end up TQing and winning eBuggy 40 Plus as well. Tessman had some issues, but this seems to be the new standard. I know a lot of people have been trying it with other platforms, with moving batteries around, doing stuff like that. But now this perfectly balances the car and gets it a little bit lighter, more like what you would get on your Nitro. So I think it's well worth it. The other thing we forgot to mention on this chassis is all of these extra holes. I was just talking about weight, all these extra holes here. So the cool part with what Xray is doing on the new 21 eBuggy is giving you the ability to put a whole bunch of extra chassis weights in and around the chassis, so you can get it to drive exactly the way you want it. Plus now they're all countersunk as well, which on the 20 you would have to drill and countersunk your chassis, which if you make a whoopsie is not an inexpensive thing to replace. So Xray takes all of that stuff out of there. You can see there's 2 center diff mounting positions. So one's gonna be for the saddle pack and one is going to be for the standard 4S configuration. So a couple different ways to do it. Brand new chassis, brand new body, brand new saddle pack design. That's what I got. So thank you everyone so much for tuning in to the Xb8 21E unboxing video. So we'll get this car built in the saddle pack configuration. In a previous video we had Sean's car here, and he has just a standard eBuggy that he ran all past last year. And we're gonna compare the 2 side by side, see what's actually changed, see how they look differently, and then give it a good performance test. So if you wanna see that video later on down, give it a thumbs up, throw a comment down below. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss it. So thanks everyone so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.